Right, it's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. Roll call of the council, please.
Green,
Here.
Anderson. Here. Rose. Here. Ursano.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Burby. Here.
At our desk, we do have a revised agenda this evening. I would entertain a motion to, and a second to approve the revised agenda.
Move to approve the revised agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, tonight we're making appointments for 2 commissions. We received 19 applications for 14 spots. Each application was reviewed by myself and Mayor Pro Tem Smith. I want to start by thanking everyone who applied. I know, and I speak for both of us when I say that this was a difficult decision based on the quality of the applicants. We got a lot of good people. We appreciate everyone's interest in serving on the commissions, and we will keep the applications on file to reach out to the list if and when there are future vacancies. So I'm going to start first with the Citizens Advisory Board appointments. I am recommending the following individuals for appointment to the Citizens Advisory Board. For a 3-year appointment, I'll try and get all these names somewhat decently pronounced here. For a 3-year appointment, April Rattray, Rochelle Plaster, David Griffin, and Jay Hambley. For a 2-year appointment, Kyra Wolfield, Elizabeth Carter, and Jenny Helm. Secondly, for the Senior Citizens Advisory Board appointments, the Mayor Pro Tem has recommended the following individuals for appointment to the Senior Citizen Advisory Commission. For a 3-year appointment, Wanda Burkett, Mary Ellen LaBerge, Maria Zaffe. That's for 3 years. For 2-year appointments, Maureen Bray, Jeanette Coate, and Grace Stansel.
Also for a 3-year appointment, Janice James.
Oh. All right. Councilmember Smith, would you like to speak on the nominations?
Well, I would say that in my review of the Senior Advisory Commission, the amount of service, volunteering that has been put in over the years before we've had this was overwhelming. Overwhelming of how much these individuals have volunteered and given to this community. So it was a no-brainer for me to pass what I was asked to do on to city staff and to you, Mayor.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, do we need to vote individually on each? Okay, we'll start with the Citizens Advisory Board appointments.
Move to approve the mayor's recommendations for the Citizen Advisory Committee. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council.
Move to approve the Mayor Pro Tem's recommendations for the Senior Advisory Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council. Congratulations to everyone who is appointed tonight. You will receive an introductory email from our staff probably tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, up next, we have public comments and we've got, I'm sure a couple people looks like missed. I know that there's a couple here that want to speak on the possible Jefferson Street vacation, but didn't sign up on that sheet. So I'm gonna go down the list here first for people that wanted to speak. And then I'll go over to the Jefferson Street vacation list as well. Cal, I know you're one. So Cal Bush, you can go first. And next will be, looks like an L Bidet. Baydeck. Okay. Please, Al or Cal?
Is this for public comment or public hearing?
Public comment.
For public comment.
Okay.
Sorry, Cal, would you like to speak on public comment or do you want to speak specifically to the Jefferson Street vacation?
My comments are going to be about why we're even considering abandoning that section. Jefferson goes out to the highway.
Okay, I'll put you down when we get to that section. Mr. Baydeck is same.
That was
Okay.
the thing.
All right. All right, go down here. Gillinan, do you want to do that? Okay, please come ahead and I'll go on down the list. For Jefferson, okay. Sorry, we had multiple lists for different things we're doing tonight. All right,
You have some people online that are gonna wanna see.
and Connie, I haven't seen Connie. Is she online? Oh, there you are. Okay. At the end? Okay. That's that list. And okay, I think that's it. Everybody's here to speak on Jefferson as far as I can tell. Would anybody like to speak not on Jefferson? Yes, please. Okay. Yep, I see you on the main list. Jenny, Denise. Warren Robbins. Okay, perfect. When we get to that. Yes, would you like to speak on something not Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Oh.
And you can call my name,
Okay,
Leslie Myers, MYERS.
Right underneath Warren Robbins. I'll put it on there.
Leslie Myers. Okay. All right. Would anybody like to speak for public comment on not on Jefferson, on anything in particular? We'll have another chance at the very end of the meeting too, for other comment. So, anybody? Okay. All right. Committee reports. We'll start with admin, finance and public safety.
So admin, finance and public safety met yesterday at the fire station. And I provided the minutes to all council and staff. So administration, the recruitment update for open positions for the open utility worker position that was going to replace the meter reader. It'll be an advertised in the house at this time. Finance assistant, there's been interviews conducted. Pending a decision, all seasonal positions, and this is something that's always been in Buckley. They're all in place for Parks and Rec and Public Works. One of those seasonals is taking care of the watering of the baskets that are beautiful down Main Street and other places in and around our wonderful green area there. City Hall remodel update. As everyone knows, we went out to bid. And I'll be reminded that the budgeted amount was 1.5 million. The lowest bid came in at 1.65 million, which did not include a parking lot or a metal roof. I believe at the end of our time tonight, there is a topic that the city administrator will discuss regarding options going forward dealing with the city hall remodel. Moving down to finance, we underwent a 2019 to 2021 audit. It's ongoing. And the city is working on reconciling all cash items for those years as part of the audit. We discussed the 2022 end of year update that is on tonight's agenda, so you'll get more live information from the finance director. The lodging tax update. City staff is creating applications for this committee. 2 people from businesses that collect the tax. And 2 people from organizations that would spend the tax. And I believe there's also going to be council representation on that committee, but this is actively going on right now. We were provided, the committee was provided a 2024 draft budget calendar. July, the department heads will be, I'm sorry, I typed it the wrong way. Department heads are meeting with department or city staff to start the process, not they're meeting with department heads, they're meeting with city staff. In July and August, there will be a special council study session, so 2 instead of 1 regarding the budget. In September, council will get budget presentations from all department heads. In October, draft revenue projections will be provided to council, and there'll be two study sessions regarding the budget. And we'll receive the preliminary budget document in October. November, first study session will be budget work as a council. And then the first council meeting will include a public hearing regarding the 2024 budget. We'll have a second study session if it becomes necessary regarding the budget. And if not, the second council meeting will include a second public hearing on the budget and council action on the adoption of the 2024 budget. Public safety, Chief Alfano advised he's in the process of hiring either a lateral entry or a entry-level police officer. They have created a civil service list, and department has done some interviews, and they're in the process of processing that. Fire department, Connor Smith, who was a volunteer, has been hired as the full-time firefighter, and he began earlier this month. Their recruit academy was completed, graduated 3 days ago. And the replacement pickup truck that we authorized has been ordered, went outside the state bid process. And it's going to be delivered at Fugit Ford. Price tag is $58,700. Before the equipment installation, however, they are going to repurpose radios and emergency equipment, which will lower the outfitting cost.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Green for Community Services, sorry.
Yes, so Councilmember Anderson was unable to attend and she normally does the wonderful note taking, so apologize for for my attempt here, taking the notes. A lot of the stuff we talked about already, or you just talked about, Councilmember Smith, and we spoke about in the study session last time, but I'll go through some highlights here. So the biggest one was we had a presentation from a young man named Aiden Roberts, who is an Eagle Scout from Troop 501. And he has a project that he wanted to get our buy-in on, and it's to put a Gaga ball court, or like, I don't know, like a little octagon thing. Yeah, if you watch UFC, like a little Gaga ball thing, right by the Youth Activity Center. And what Gaga ball is, and please help me if I get this wrong, because I just learned about it last Monday. It's kind of like a dodgeball, but you can only hit like on the legs, so yeah, below the knees. And there's different rules that make it more safe and more accessible for all ages. It sounds like it's a fun thing, and apparently everyone had heard of it except for me. And Councilmember Rose. But it's a thing. So he's really interested in putting this together on his own and doing the fundraising for it as a gift for the Youth Activity Center and for the young folks of Buckley. And so we approved that. And so he's going to go and begin his fundraising. Anything more you'd like to add on Gaga Ball? Is that
I think it's called a Gaga Pit,
Gaga Pit?
To
It's not
play-
Gaga Ball?
Gaga Ball.
Okay.
I really don't know either,
Yeah.
but Gaga Pit is
Yeah.
what was approved.
Gaga Pit. So if Councilmember Anderson was there, I would have said Pit, not Gaga Ball in my notes. So -1 for me. We have some updates from Parks and Rec. So the museum is looking to cement the gravel walkways in that area for accessibility purposes. And so they'll be seeking a land disturbance permit if they haven't already. They want to get this done quickly and before the log show. And so that'll be really good for folks who, who the gravel isn't gonna be accessible for. Also at the museum, they have a roof leak in the historic logging camp bunkhouse, and they were seeking funding for it. Unfortunately, it's not in the budget and it's not part of our contractual obligations. So with just, budget concerns right now, we declined to provide funding, but did request the city try to help the museum to identify some potential resources to smooth that process. The City Hall proposal, Councilmember Smith, you mentioned. So we'll be hearing about that tonight. We had a request for an exception to the new Buckley Hall fee structure. We also declined to make that exception. We want to keep things pretty standard, so we're not getting a lot of exception requests and undermining the new process. I feel like Grinches with all these declinations here. Geez. The Buckley Youth Center Advisory Board is looking at disbanding over the course of the next 6 to 8 months, and they will be donating the savings account to the youth center. And before they go, they're hoping to upgrade the signs at the youth center. There's a potential senior center audit coming. This audit will be conducted by the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is a county program. And then we heard from Emily for the building and planning presentation that we got a good deep dive into last Tuesday.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. Councilmember comments and go to the order. Have any comments, concerns? Not at this time. Okay. Consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Sorry.
Second.
Second from Rose. All in favor?
Okay.
All opposed? Thank you, council. All right, on to the regular agenda. Start with, I guess I'll recess, right? Okay, it is 6:20. We will recess the city council meeting and enter into the public hearing for the Jefferson Avenue right-of-way vacation at 6:20. Okay. Dominic? Our city engineer?
Hello. Is my microphone working?
It should be.
Good. So I am here to give a brief update on the Jefferson Avenue right-of-way process. I believe as part of the council packets, there is a draft staff report that I prepared, which goes through the 5 primary review criteria that per the Buckley Municipal Code that each of you as council members are to consider as part of this consideration of vacation of the Jefferson Avenue right-of-way. I believe some of these items and issues were talked about at the study session. I believe council members are fairly well versed in some of the issues. This is not a this is a process. It's not an abnormal process that you guys are exploring going through this. We're having a kind of a second public hearing this evening due to a notification oversight or didn't quite follow the letter of the law, which was has been rectified by this second hearing, which maybe is a good thing to get all the issues out on the table. I believe there have been questions that arose as, why is this happening? My understanding is the primary reasons that the council elected to explore this has to do with safety for pedestrians and bicycles crossing Jefferson Avenue on the Foothills Trail. That was stated as a reason. And also stated as that it may be a benefit to the Parks and Recreation Department to have a little more, flexibility in what could and couldn't be done in some of that property. You don't have vehicles driving through there. And if you have various items, concerts in the park or what happens for Parks and Recreation need a consideration. I do know that the city administrators spoke with WashDOT today. Just asked them if they didn't know a whole lot about it, but they were in general in support from the standpoint of, WashDOT's after, limiting access where they can to make it primary points of access that have signals. There's other ones, they can't come in and tell the city, they can't dictate and say, no, you need to get rid of this access, but they, from kind of a safety standpoint and an access standpoint, they are in general supportive, is my understanding of that conversation that the city administrator had with a WashDOT representative today. So again, piece of information. I think we're trying to gather information. Is there any either a question or clarification for me before we get to the public testimony?
Anybody? Okay. Thanks, Don.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. So we'll go down the list here. Start with, is it Shayla? Miles? State your name and you don't have to give us your address, but if you're a Buckley resident or not, please.
My name's Shayla Miles. And yeah, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm the executive director of the Foothills Rails to Trail Coalition, an organization with over 800 members and supporters, many of them Buckley residents. And the coalition partners with stakeholders to maintain and expand the Foothills Trail, as well as promotes the use of the trail for purposes of recreation and health and economic development. And so, yeah, I'm here tonight on behalf of the coalition board and membership to express our support of the city's vacation of Jefferson Avenue. We support this effort for two main reasons. One, the street vacation will improve public safety, and vacating Jefferson Ave will expand future economic development opportunities along the trail. The Foothills Trail in Buckley is the city's biggest and most well-used park. Currently, the trail sees over 1 million trips, which will only increase with the opening of the White River Pedestrian Bridge, connecting the trail to King County in 2024. Additional trail usage will naturally increase the likelihood of any incidents along the trail at vehicle crossings, and closing Jefferson Avenue to vehicle traffic will reduce the likelihood of such occurrences. Road crossings on trails threaten the safety of trail users, and Jefferson Ave is a particularly dangerous crossing in that there are no stop signs, lights, or crossing signals. Alternative routes exist for vehicles to access 410 or Jefferson Ave, but trail users must cross this Jefferson Ave section to use the trail through Buckley. Permanently closing Jefferson Avenue to vehicle traffic will reduce the number of road crossings for trail users and thus increase public safety. Additionally, the future Buckley Foothills Trailhead, which will include restrooms, a parking lot, and the future Foothills Historical Pavilion Dock Tate Plaza, will be located right along Jefferson Avenue. And we envision this pavilion plaza to be a community gathering space and thus will draw crowds. As more users flock to this space for recreation, Jefferson Avenue should be closed to vehicles to ensure the safest community gathering space possible. Finally, vacating Jefferson Avenue and allowing for safe trail usage will benefit the current business community and allow for future economic development. Trail-based tourism increases direct consumer spending at businesses along and near trails. And so making the trail safer and easier to use is in the best interest of the business community. Instead of a through street for vehicles, Buckley residents can have a safe community gathering space and safer access to the Foothills Trail, making these parcels an attractive space for business to invest and develop. Trails should be safe for all users. When they are, everyone benefits. Vacating Jefferson Avenue clearly increases public safety in this important community space. We commend the city's efforts in this matter, and it will make the trail in Buckley safer for residents and visitors alike. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shayla. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Killinen. Yes, I'm a resident of Buckley. I am coming to you this evening to comment, and I would like to be transparent on the fact that I am very much in favor of vacating Jefferson. I'm commenting as a community member and as a parent, but also as
Yeah, make sure sorry.
but also as a staff member of the Buckley Youth Activity Center for the last 12 years. This evening at programming our leadership program, we were presenting the city council agenda to the kids. And on it, obviously, was a very impactful Jefferson vacation topic. And one of the students recalled a friend of an older sibling who got hit by a car on Jefferson between the years of 2014 and 2016. I would like to state that it is a minor incident and no police report was filed, but also documentation of incidents. They were not readily accessible to me today because the reporting processes were different back then, but we are looking into it. In my years working at the youth center, I can count on both hands the incidences of cars driving on the trail during programming hours. Obviously, this is not ideal to a youth setting or a public park. Jefferson is used as a shortcut or a cut through from town to 410, and the potential for harm is far outweighing the convenience of the street, in my opinion. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jenny. Denise? You'll have to bend that down. It'll twist, yeah.
Or stand on my tippy toes the whole time. I'm Denise Bergerson, Buckley resident. And while I appreciate the concerns for traffic and pedestrian accidents on Jefferson Street, as well as your projected population increase to our city, I have a few thoughts that I'd like you to consider. Jefferson Street is a viable route between River Road and 410. My husband and I walk the trail daily, and when the street was open, we had no concerns crossing Jefferson Street at all. When open, vehicles stopped for us numerous times, both turning off 410 and traveling to 410. The visibility is wide open with no curves, trees, fences, or bushes. While this street has been on temporary vacation, it has increased traffic on Ryan Road, Main Street, and Park Avenue. Though we may not have crossed at the huge intersection at Ryan Road, that we don't need to go that way. We have crossed hundreds of times at Main Street and Park Street when walking or biking on the trail. Main Street and Park Street are both more dangerous because many drivers try to speed up to make the light. During our walks on the trail, we have almost been hit crossing those two crossings several times. In a very short distance, there by Wally's, there are 5 places to watch for pedestrians. Of course, the trail and then 4 marked crosswalks, which two are very unsafe based on fencing and a curve in the road from Park to A Street. There used to be flags for crossing the trail right there by Wally's. But they've been missing for at least a year. I appreciate the idea that with more growth, it's likely there'll be more pedestrians, but we aren't there yet. Our population continues to grow. I feel we need to keep all access for ingress and egress open. Also, if the parking lot is put in the bathrooms, aren't people still going to be turning off 410 based on where the parking lot shows is being located, even just the 8 stalls? Leaving it open for access to the parking lot won't reduce accident potential at Jefferson and 410. The letter written by the police chief stating that during the last 5 years, the percentage of accidents at Jefferson and 410 was 3.59% of the accidents. It would be interesting to know the percentage of accidents at Main Street and Park Street to be able to compare the dangerousness, I guess, of those 3 areas. Unfortunately, I believe it's impossible to prevent all accidents. We can't be responsible for all the drivers on 410. I would like to suggest changing Jefferson Street to be right turn only, both onto and off 410. Then closing Jefferson seasonally between June 1st and September 15th instead of closing it permanently. Closing it seasonally instead of closing it for each event along the trail would reduce the overtime of city employees and keep pedestrians safe during those busy summertime events. If we get a great population growth, we may look at doing that in the future.
Thanks, Denise. Okay. Is it Lorna? Lorna Robbins? Oh, Lauren.
Scottish name.
Mr. Mayor, nice to meet you, council. I believe we need Jefferson. I've lived here since 1993 in Buckley. I've seen improvements in housing developments with no improvements in roads. I think we need as much ways to commute as possible. That's all I can say. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yep, thank you. And you are a Buckley resident?
I am.
Okay,
I live on a
okay,
Main Street, Spiketon.
okay. Leslie.
Yes. Leslie Myers, resident Buckley since 1993. I live on A Street. I think Buckley needs all the roads, streets, paths, alleyways it can possibly get with the amount of people that are here now. I believe we need access, vehicle access, foot access. We need more safety everywhere. There's mass confusion at the trail already as far as the trails being safe. At the 4-way, the bicyclists come down Ryan Road onto Spiketon because they don't know which way to go to get to Jefferson, to that crossing there. It's confusion there anyway. And we see bicyclists and pedestrians down A Street all the time. It used to be A Street, now it's a highway. There's so many people using that road as access off of 410. We need roads in Buckley. It's unsafe for me to pull out of my driveway. There's so much traffic. I'm in front of the White River Senior Housing. The little old people used to come out on their walkers and their wheelchairs. They almost get ran over trying to cross. Jefferson is far more safe than where I'm at. We need sidewalks, speed bumps, safety walks. I'm a nurse for 30 years. Safety, 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 and we need roads. I can't imagine shutting a road in Buckley.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Connie.
Connie Bender. Yes, I do live here in Buckley. Okay. At the last study session, there were several different vacate. Do a short vacate from June to September. Just vacate when there's something special going on. And one, there hasn't been an accident. I don't know. I don't know what the lady was talking about because there's no record of any kids getting hit. But there has been on Main, and there has been issues on Park. We can't close them down. The big issue, if you want safety, put a little light up there. They got to hit so they can cross. If you want to vacate it, Fine, you got to vacate it all the way to 410. But now you're putting in a parking lot. Only way in and out is 410. Even if it's only an 8 spot, now you got 5 to 8 cars going out. And most of the time, probably pretty close to the same time, kids get done playing their game, adults get done playing their game. They're all going to leave at one time. Bigger chance of more accidents on 410. So as far as taking care of safety, it isn't. And now on top of that, the parking lot is almost directly across from the basketball court. There is only one fence on the basketball court, and that's on 410. So basketball comes out, kids going to run across to get to the cars. Now you've created less safety. It is more dangerous. So if you're going to close it, that's up to the council. But you're not stopping the hazards. You want a hazard? Put up a fence along by the youth center, along there. Fences are great. They're not that expensive. Do the same thing. Leave Jefferson open. A lot of people use it. Not half as many will use it as they will the parking lot. And some kid, a basketball comes out, some kids runs to get it, somebody else is pulling out. Bam, what have you got? Somebody getting hurt. So you got to make decisions. Are you going to let the parking lot go in and cause a big safety hazard? Are you going to close Jefferson? And the other thing is they were talking about just doing it on special events, what it would cost. We do it on Main Street all the time. I don't know where the money comes. I doubt all the people that have buildings down there pay for it. But I can tell you the people of this city that use Jefferson pay for it with their tabs, their taxes, and they have a right to keep Jefferson open. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Cal Bush.
Well, this will probably get pretty interesting. I know that Louis and I both had problems hearing people speak, but I'm sure you can all hear me. My voice projects rather well. I want to know why we're even considering vacating Jefferson Street. We have 3 accesses to Highway 410 from the east side of this city onto 410. One's at Wally's, Park Street. The other's Main Street. The other's clear down at the bend in the highway. Ryan Road, interchange, or whatever you call that mess. We need Jefferson Street. We need to change it to a right turn only. To get off the highway onto Jefferson, right turn only. To leave Jefferson to go onto the highway, right turn only to go north towards Enumclaw. That solves a traffic flow problem. You do not want to turn left across oncoming traffic. It's a traffic hazard. There's a solution for the traffic flow. As far as pedestrians and the trail goes, then you better figure out what to do with Park Street, Main Street, and down at Ryan Road, because that trail crosses all 3 of them. Mute point. We need Jefferson Street. All of the growth that's been taking place in the last few years in Buckley has been on South Division, down Ryan Road, on the east side of town, not the west side. West side's got about 7 accesses. The east side has 3, plus a potential of Jefferson. Give that some thought. Whose idea was it to just, we own Jefferson. It'll cost a hell of a lot of money to tear it up and get rid of it. Just in construction costs, let alone how much documentation costs are going to be, paperwork and etc., dealing with the state and all that. So, public safety, there's the answer, turn right. As far as crossing the road, it happens at Main, Park, and Ryan. Same thing. So give some thought to the costs of getting rid of it. Enumclaw has right turn only on Cole and Griffin. Works really well. Why won't it work here? Why are we so narrow-sighted, short-sighted about doing something constructive? And I think I'm running out of time, so we're getting more and more traffic on the east side. Let's not limit our access.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Badek.
And it's Louis, right?
I'm Louis Badek. I've lived here, I guess about 70 years, but I'm not a native. But Cal has sort of taken all of my talking points, but I would like to point out too, it is a hazard if you live on south side of Main Street, try to get across Main Street certain times of the day, and the same thing happens on Ryan Road. You have, thank you. You have 8 people there or 8 cars there at a time, plus you have pedestrians. And if you think that isn't fun sometimes, I don't know how many of you have driven up, but you should have, in the same way or to trying to get across Main. Main is so hard now, I can pull up there and if you can look both ways and you cannot see. So, and then like during the time when school is in session, it's or before it starts, it's just about impossible to get across. And I'm go along with Kel that if you had right turn only, that would solve so much of your problem. And I did send a letter to the council, I guess several months ago. And I wanted to know why it was closed to begin with. And I think the answer I got, well, they were painting something, but I knew they were doing some work there too. But I never did hear why it was closed. And to me, I think you're making a mistake by closing Jefferson. I've talked to quite a number of people and they all seem to think like I do. They want it to remain open. It's, I don't know. I think you're making a mistake if you do vacate it.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
And one other thing too. Why wasn't it in this paper? I have the latest paper, nothing about this meeting. And why couldn't you ask the people when you sent out our bill, why couldn't you ask how they feel about it too, to get a larger percentage of people's views?
Well, I know we noticed it twice. We had to notice it twice.
Well, it wasn't in last week's paper.
At the site, right? Correct. We had to notice it at the site twice.
Okay.
Where the.
Well, I can't go that way, so.
Gotcha.
And people just think that's the pickleball proposal. That's what I thought it was.
I heard like it was a done deal. And I mean, that's, I don't know.
Okay. Let's see, looks like, I think that's everybody, but does any, Milt? Yep, please.
I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna speak tonight.
No, you're a resident too.
I think what we have here is common sense. And I appreciate the people coming to talk about this. I'm hearing that we do need safety during events and seasonally. And one, as Connie suggested, I think that makes sense because most of the year, there's not a lot of activity there. And I'm concerned, as these gentlemen have spoken to, when you have the buses coming at 2:30, there is no way for me to get home unless I turn down Jefferson and take the back road and come out at C. And so we need to think about that. Access is important. Yes. Is it as safe? Is it safer than Park Street, Main Street, or the roundabout? What should be a roundabout? No, it isn't, you know? So we need to think about how do we accommodate people getting in and out of their homes? How do we accommodate safety during events? And the real concern I have is if that street does not go through and you put a parking space there, and the only way out is through Jefferson and making a left turn on the 410. That isn't going to happen between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, it just isn't going to happen. And so the only way and the safe way to get out of that parking lot is to go down to River Road and come out at a light. It might be the only way out at that time. And we're talking, it may be some manipulation when there's a big event to open it up after the event so people can leave. And so I think we heard from the community some solutions that we ought to consider as a council. And I think this is workable. I think it can be a win-win for the safety of the events. I would love to see a music venue on the other side of Jefferson that maybe combines with the Foothills Dr. Tate Pavilion. And it's simple. That's only June, July, August. So I would suggest that we consider the alternatives that have been proposed by the people that live here. And the concern, when I come on down 410 heading east, it is backed up to Jefferson. The only way home I have is to get off and go through the roundabout, come down A Street, like the one gentleman said, or to go down Jefferson and go down through and go across A. Because that light from 3 to 7 is backed up to Jefferson. So I'm sitting there for 15 minutes to make a turn on Main Street. That's all. I think we have solutions. I think we have workable solutions. And I appreciate if we listen to our community and maybe consider some of those sensible, seasonal, and perhaps event-oriented things. It may be removable pylons that we put there, stanchions or something like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Milt.
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else that would like to speak on the public hearing this evening? Cal, you spoke.
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, come to the mic.
By keeping Jefferson open, I'd have no problem at all with closure during events. As part of the community. It's a community event, community happening. Fine, we can make excuses or arrangements to accommodate something like that. But to close that street off, we own it. Let's use it. Put it to good use for the benefit of the community. We've got to have egress.
Okay.
And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you. Chloe.
Good evening. And as a community member and a former staff member at the youth center, I did want to comment I was working at the youth center during that incident time and it was an issue. However, as a Parks and Rec programmer or coordinator, it was really hard to try to get contracted, licensed people out there if you can't guarantee safety. So they don't want to take on that liability. So I do like the idea seasonally, possibly closing that so the programmers that are trying to create, community events can plan for those. So that's just my only comment. And thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, last call. Anybody else? Carolyn? No? Okay, it is 10 minutes to 7. We're going to close the public hearing.
What about the ones on the internet?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up. Hold on. Public comment still open. Public hearing still open.
Yep, okay. Go ahead.
State your name and if you're a Buckley resident or not, please.
My name is Mary Schiller and I live on the west side of Buckley, which has been called the wrong side of the tracks before. I want you to know that I really do love Buckley. I'm passionate about revitalizing the downtown. Sorry. I'm glad to see that mentioned in your plans. I believe that the image most people have of Buckley is that we have a really nice park along Highway 410. And I would imagine that most of them don't even know that we have a historic downtown. I agree that safety is one of the big concerns, but it's not only just there, it's for the whole town. There are 3 daycares, 2 preschools, T-ball and soccer teams that play at Wickersham on the west side of Buckley. We don't have a park on the west side of Buckley. There from Highway 410 to Mason via Park Avenue and Natchez Street, there's not one stop sign to slow traffic, and they go way too fast, nor are there any crosswalks for us to cross on the street at. Middle school students are required to walk to school or catch the bus with the high schoolers at Wickersham. The elementary school bus stop right across from me lets off 39 kids in the afternoon. That's over half a bus of kids, and there are no crosswalks to get them home safely. Just like you see people walking on the Foothills Trail on the east side of town, we have people walking on the west side of downtown too. I can't speak for all of the residents on the west side of town, but all of us have to cross 410 to get our mail. Sometimes it'll take me 20 minutes because I have to wait at that light for God knows how long, because traffic is timed to get people through on Highway 410, not across the street. And on this, I'm speaking on both hearings because that's how I did my thing. In the 6-year plan, there's nothing planned for any of the streets west of Highway 410 to Natchez Street. However, there's a 1,000-foot right turn lane that'll hold 34 cars per Google. That will dump them off onto Park Avenue, which the city has to maintain. I'm a little confused as to why the $1,037,000 bill is on us when it's a state highway. $1,037,000 would buy a lot of paint for crosswalks, sidewalks, and speed control, and fences along the park. Something I've heard a lot is that this happened during the previous city administrator's time. Well, I looked it up, and 5 council members from 2021 are still on the council in 2023. So you were accountable as well. I counted Marvin in that. Under the number 2 review criteria, it reads, the vacation of the area immediately improves the pedestrian safety, and it provides areas for parks and recreation departments' uses. Allowing the area to be incorporated into adjoining properties would result in additional land area being added to these areas, expanding the potential for commercial development, which the comprehensive plan indicates as a strategy for economic development. I do not agree with that strategy. I think the park should remain a park.
Hey, Mary, you got to wrap it up here. We're past time, but go ahead and your last thought.
My last thought is that I would like to thank you for your commitment. Where'd it go? To our fine city, and please listen to the people.
Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else online? I see a Jean that might want to speak, and a Jim. Anybody else online like to speak in the public hearing this evening?
I don't have any chats or any hand raises, so.
Okay. All right. With that, we will close the public hearing this time at 6:55 and enter back into the city council meeting, same time, 6:55. Right. I guess we will enter, I guess I should have just went into the 6-year. All right, we're gonna have another public hearing on the 6-year transportation plan. And on that sheet to speak, I have, well, Mary already spoke. Can we make sure she gets on the record for both?
She can speak again.
Okay,
Or
she can speak
for
again.
each public
Mary,
hearing.
if you're still with us, if you'd like to speak on the transportation, you can have 3 minutes.
Please
on-
raise your virtual hand.
Raise your
I-
virtual hand, whatever that means.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mary. All right, anybody in the audience like to speak on the transportation plan, the next 6 years, for the next 6 years? Not nearly as popular. Okay. Last call, all right, we'll close the second public hearing on the 6-year transportation plan and back into the council meeting at 6:58. Okay. Resolution, we have start into our regular council meeting. Thank you, everybody. If you want to hang out, you're obviously more than welcome. But we're going to get into the main agenda this evening. All right, resolution, we'll have a motion from somebody.
We take like a 5-minute.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's take a 5-minute recess, everybody back about 2 minutes after 7, please. What did you get out of Mary? Did you get a pro or?
I don't know.
I didn't get either.
I feel like.
She wants to leave it.
I
Leave it
feel
the
like-
way. Leave it the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You did a good job with your time. Yeah.
It is. We did
Well, I feel this thing and I get it.
I mean, I drive it every day. I used to. It's hard because you can never err on the side of being. When you build our job sites, we never get in trouble for being. We get in trouble for not being safe. So if you look at it that there's a huge issue. It's like this. In depth and everybody's. Not me, I'm just saying. The idea is- Oh. Yeah. Yeah, so like, it's very big. People doing that, they take it right. It's because if someone has to eat traffic or you put on that corner, and you want to, they whip up on your river. So it's. Everybody wants to stay. Say, hey, come on down here, but we're gonna put. You know. I'm back in, I guess. Ron's trapped out. I'll go. Still there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just really easy.
I'm just trying to free you. No, it's all good.
I had to grab him while I could.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay, it is 7:04. We're gonna start the council meeting back at 7:04. And start into our main agenda with our first resolution, which is 23-07.
I move to approve resolution number 23-07, adopting the 2024 through 2029 6-year transportation plan.
Second. Motion carried.
Oh, hold
Oh,
on.
sorry.
It's all right. Discussion, questions, comments on the 6-year transportation plan? Okay. And this a roll call?
No
Okay,
resolution.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay,
Council?
now it carries.
Perfect, all right. 2308.
Move to approve resolution 23-08 to establish City of Buckley Council goals and a citywide mission and vision statement.
Second.
Comments, discussion?
Did the wordsmithing happen?
Yes.
Okay, I was double
If
checking.
you want to, yeah, if you want to put your eyes on it one more time, feel free.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, All right, on 2308, all in favor? All opposed? Thank you, council. I think we're having a little. Tree has been reading off the numbers, so but we're gonna go the way that you're used to doing it.
Okay.
That's where there's a little misstep there, so no
Okay,
sweat at all.
sorry.
Nope, no, don't be. Okay, 2309.
Motion to approve resolution 23-09 to amend the Buckley's Personnel Policy and Administrative Procedures Manual, section 6.02, legal holidays.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you,
Motion carried.
council. Okay. And we're gonna have another motion right here. Motion to, oh yeah, somebody will have to. read
Motion
that.
to authorize the city administrator to sign a MOU to amend section 8.1 of the local 32 union contract to add Juneteenth to the list of holidays.
Second.
Any discourse whatsoever? Any questions, comments? No?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you,
Motion
council.
carried.
All right. We'll get into staff reports.
So first up, we
Oh.
have Director Hines.
Sorry.
Yay. Good evening, council, mayor. Here to present to you the 22 year-end report, financial report that was provided in your boxes on Monday. So our 2022 year end ended on a positive note. As in previous years, it was a little uncertain as we developed the 22 budget because it was during 21 when things were just starting to kind of reopen from the pandemic and not really knowing how the economy was going to do, if that was going to continue to grow or not. Overall, the year did end on a positive note. In revenue areas that benefited, sales tax continued to benefit, especially then from restaurants and retail opening up more. So that was good. Our development side did see an upswing in 21. There was quite a lull in the building permit side. Planning had been very busy, but building permits were very low and under budget. But definitely saw that come in 22 at over 300% greater than what 21 had been. So we saw a strong showing in that and along with that, then when building permits get pulled, a lot of the capital revenue as well. So capital facilities charges for water, sewer and storm, transportation impact fees for streets. A lot of those also came in well above budget with the timing of the building permits. The housing market also stayed strong for sales. And so our real estate excise taxes did well in our capital funds, which was important. Planning revenue did continue to go up in 22 from 21. So even the planning side has stayed strong, as Emily has mentioned in a lot of her reports. There's lots of projects in the wings at various stages. So those will continue. From an expenditure side, our services continued at current levels. On the capital side, we did have some projects that have been delayed in 21. The 21 consolidated utilities project didn't start until 22. And so that was continuing through the second half of 22 and finishing up into this year. So on the capital side, things were still getting a little delayed, but we are working on catching up. And in 23, we should make some good progress at seeing some of those finish off. We did receive our second installment of the ARPA money that we've mentioned before during 22. So that is the end of that, the 1.4 million. We have received all of the funds under that program now. And as we've talked with council in the past, we've continued to adjust those projects and priorities as the needs come up. So overall, the total city budget was 33.4 million. Of that, revenue had been budgeted at 17.5 million. And we saw a total collection of 19.6 million. So just a little over 2 million increase over what we had budgeted. Again, a lot of that being with the capital and the development side, which increased ending fund balances. Some items of note for different funds, our park construction fund, where our park impact fees come in. Those came in roughly at budget, just a little under. So the estimate, I think they did come in well. I think the estimate might have been just a little bit high with those. And the grant funding from RCO for the trailhead parking lot and restroom project will be coming in this year. So it was budgeted in 22, but just due to timing of the project and then reimbursement, that grant revenue won't actually be seen until 23. So the fund overall had come in under budget. In our street operating fund, revenue was under budget, but that was mostly due to budgeted ARPA funds for projects that did not move forward, like the wayfinding signs being one of them. Arterial Street Fund, our capital fund, revenue was 615,000 over budget. And so most of that was due to the transportation impact fees. A good chunk of that was transportation impact fees, but it was also due to timing of revenue. So our TIB grant for some of our capital projects that had been budgeted in 21 was received in 22, just timing from the state. I talked about our capital improvement funds, 307 and 308, coming in well because of REIT. So those both came in over budget for REIT, as well as then all of our sewer, water, and storm construction funds, well over budget in all of those due to the capital facilities charges. From a citywide perspective for expenditures, we were budgeted at just about 19.2 million and our actual expenditures were 16.3. So we were 15% under expended. The majority of those reasons were due to just the capital projects being delayed, as well as staffing vacancies. Planning and building had staffing vacancies much of the year. In finance, we had a new position budgeted for 22 that didn't get hired until July. So there was half a year of vacancy there. And then moving into the general fund, the total general fund was 8.1 million with about $1 million of actual beginning fund balance coming in from 21. And our budgeted revenue was just shy of 7.1 million, but our actual collection was 7.16 million. So just squeaked over budget at 66,000. So almost right on budget for that. Those areas that did come in well, our utility taxes came in well. So a lot of that is coming from increased development and increased residential. Building permits, as we talked about, and then you'll see in the line in exhibit C, donations and contributions were well over budget. Most of that was because of the PSE contributions that came in towards the end of the year that we ended up using in the general fund. And so those were came in late 22. ARPA looks like it's under budget, but that is only because we had put all of the ARPA money into the general fund kind of as the placeholder, waiting to see where it was going to get spent. And then as it did, kind of like for utility assistance or some of the capital equipment that was purchased for police and fire and other funds, I would move the ARPA money to where those expenditures happened, and the budget just didn't get adjusted down to reflect that because timing wise, it didn't happen before year end. We only had the one meeting to do those in December. So the revenue has all come in. It's just been dispersed into the other funds where the projects occurred. So don't want you to think that we're short on ARPA money. It just has been moved around. From general fund expenditures, actual expenditures were about 233,000 below budget, $7 million budget. And we brought in or spent just about shy of 6.8 million. Again, position vacancies, and then also the placeholder for ARPA from an expenditure side. We didn't spend everything, so there's still under expenditures in ARPA for the general fund. So the city overall did end on a positive note, especially for an ending fund balance. Ending fund balance came in almost 5 million over budget. A lot of that is mostly all in the 4 capital funds, Arterial Street plus the 3 utility capital funds. We'll see a lot of those balances drawn down in 23, and they're budgeted that way as well. If you look at the budgeted ending fund balance for 23, their budgeted should be drawn down and spent as those projects get completed. And then the general fund did come in about 300,000 over the budgeted ending fund balance, which is good, with using a lot of one-time money to balance the 23 budget. We had significantly drawn down on the working capital for the general fund. So although we have a $1.4 million ending fund balance, a lot of that is the ARPA money still unspent. So we did draw down our working capital, with the general fund being mostly salaries and benefits, for all the operating departments, yet we have a huge piece of that revenue is property tax that comes in 2 large installments in April and October. You have fluctuations in cash flow. So the working capital and the general fund is important to make sure we can meet the sustained obligations every month as the revenue does tend to fluctuate. So that additional funding, ending fund balance will be used to help replenish the general fund's main working capital fund balance. So moving into 24, as we've already talked with council about, we'll be looking to balance the budget with different strategies and tools, and we'll get started with those again in August at the special study session. So, and happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Any questions for Sandy? No? Okay, perfect. Thanks,
All right.
Sandy. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, looks like we've got a couple updates from Administrator Brunel for City Hall remodel and Jefferson Street.
So the city completed our scheduled bid opening on May 16th for the City Hall addition and modernization project. We refer to it as CHAMP in the office. To summarize the memo, the bids that we received were over budget. And if you included the parking lot and the metal roof, pretty significantly over budget. In this memo, I've summarized a couple of options for us to fund the project and outlined an alternative to potentially expand the footprint and explore alternatives in order to address a much larger capacity concern that we face citywide. So since I've been here last October, pretty much every department has mentioned that they are struggling with their existing space. So for example, planning and building is unable to currently purchase a scanner because they don't have a place to put it. We have additional storage sheds that we use to store files. It's not just the administration, it is citywide that we are seeing a space concern. So with that, given the cost of the project and the funding options, I am recommending that council reject all bids and explore an option to increase the footprint of the proposed City Hall remodel to include a second addition. Doing so will allow for us to have planning and building also at City Hall, which I believe will also increase customer service operations. Right now, we're having to send people regularly from the MPC to City Hall and back when they're making permit applications. So much more efficient. It would also resolve the department's future needs to potentially free up space for a dedicated council chamber, a dedicated senior center, as well as address some court security issues that we're facing. And there is grant funding for us to look at repurposing this building by freeing up that corner of the MPC that currently has planning and building. So I have outlined options in page 3 and 4 of the memo, as well as where we could currently find cost savings, including the Foothill Trails parking lot, if we did want to move forward with the bids that we have today. So those options are my recommendation, which is to reject all bids and go back to the drawing board to explore an addition. Doing so would require an immediate cost of $14,000 for us to get a cost estimate and a concept to bring forward to council. If you liked that concept, it would be additional cost to fully engineer to go out to bid for this revision. Option 2, we could reject all bids, and these permits that we've already applied for and been granted have been issued. They don't expire for 5 years. So at any time in the next 5 years, council could take this project back on out to bid and go through the process that we are at right now. And the third option would be that council could choose to accept the lowest bid via motion. We have 60 days to make a decision from bid opening. So ideally, there'll be some discussion tonight and some direction, and then we can prepare a resolution to either reject all bids or accept the lowest bid at our next council meeting.
Okay. Councilmember Smith.
As I provided in the update to from the admin and finance, public safety committee meeting yesterday, we had budgeted 1.5 and it came in at 1.6, not including a parking lot and a metal roof. And in piggybacking on the city administrator's presentation about space for city staff, here we are, projected to be built out to 8.84 in 2040 or whatever the year is. That's gonna require additional city services, and I find it a little off-putting that if I need to go to building and planning, I have to go to City Hall to pay for it, and then to come back and show my proof of payment to get my things, right? I am in full support of rejecting these bids. Here we are in, it's, spring, late spring of 23. When we get into the rainy time of November 23, I believe we can go back out and see who's hungry and wants to bid this differently. And I'm in full support of making this space senior center and municipal court focused. We have to address the security issues at municipal court. This space, taking away building and planning, forward senior center, and the other items, I think makes perfect sense. And to reconfigure how we were going to do City Hall.
Okay. There, any other comments on City Hall future use, expansion? No? Is that, you gonna want some more direction than that, or is that?
It sounds like I should prepare a resolution to reject all bids, and then we will have another study session or maybe a couple of other study sessions to evaluate our other options.
Okay,
I would support that.
okay, so, yeah, we'll reject all the bids and go to study session further down the line here. Not too much further down the line, but,
It'll be on our next one, July 11th.
Okay. All right, is that all you needed for that?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then for Jefferson Street, this is just the placeholder that I put on the agenda. During our last council meeting, you requested that we have additional discussion after the public hearing. I did not prepare any additional documents, but I did include in the packet for the Jefferson Street public hearing a copy of the memo last week that outlines some of the different options. So with that, happy to entertain any questions, or this is the opportunity for council to discuss. Ideally, we come forward with a resolution that highlights one option rather than drafting multiple resolutions and having you vote the night of. But we can certainly do that if there isn't a clear consensus tonight.
Okay. Ron.
Looking over the option 1, 2, and 3, and option 2, we got a $75,000 grant from the county for the Foothills Trail parking lot. Option 1 states that we have invested $115,000 in design costs, 40 grand in utility backups. Also the 75,000. I would hate to waste $155,000 and have to repay the county 75 grand to try to stuff the genie back in the bottle that is already underway. We have a bathroom there. We're talking about a Dr. Tate pavilion coming. Talking about different events. I mean, I can't imagine wasting $155,000 when we're already down that road. And going from what I counted on the parking lot on the schematic of 23 spots to 8 is a waste of impervious ground. I mean, it's a waste. So I think it'd be a slap in the face to taxpayers to have wasted $155,000 and then to have to repay $75,000 back to the county to stop what we've done.
Okay.
Oh, that was on the trail park. That's on the parking lot.
Yeah.
Let me speak to the vacation. I love the options here. We heard from folks that came. Everybody knows my focus is on public safety, on people's safety, etc. But let's be flexible and think about seasonally, May to October with bollards. if there is a reason and an emergency on the west side of town, Buckley PD will have a key. When I started on Seattle PD, I got issued a B111 key, which is exactly that, for parks and anything to do with those kind of bollards that had to be removed. And I also agree with the right turn only concept. Nobody's turning left to go to Bonnie Lake. Nobody is between those hours. And we don't want people stopping on 410, not our issue, that's a state highway, but to try to turn left. So I can support the seasonal and the right turn only. And I think that's a good compromise. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Amanda.
I am still in favor of what I said at the study session of closing it seasonally, but not May to October, June to September. I think some of the points that were brought up by citizens about the other crossings being more dangerous is very, very valid. I'm more concerned about my kids crossing at Wally's or Maine than crossing where Jefferson was open. So that is a valid concern. I'm in favor of the seasonal, but June to September when it's more busy there. I also agree with the right turn only. And then what was it? Denise that brought up the flags missed? Like we had a lot of flags and they're gone like that. I know that's neither here nor there right now, but that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, we can address that at all 3 crossings or 4.
That's just my.
Yep.
sense.
Okay, Brandon. Oh, and then Rose.
Yeah, no, I concur with Amanda. I agree that it should be seasonal. I think I like the idea of what was June to September. That makes sense. I would like to look at the accidents that the police chief provided, kind of see what the timeframes were there, see if there's any correlation with the seasonal. That aside, I continue to agree that we need to build the parking lot. We've already invested in it, and should continue that road. Right turns only, I'm on board. And definitely piggybacking on the whole Wally's and all the other intersections. I was recently, a few months back, involved in a collision right by Wally's on Park there. And it is a place where people just like to fly through, and glad I was in the car and not walking across the street.
Yep.
So we should definitely explore safety options for the other intersections.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Brandon. Rose.
I too confer that I think that the season should be, did you say till October, Amanda?
I just think June to September, because that's when school's out and that's when it's going to be the busiest. That's just my opinion though.
And that's what I feel too. That's more important to have that season than other choices. And I agree that I hate to see all of that tax-paying money down a rat hole, so I'd like to continue with that project, and I'd hope we don't have to reduce it to 8 stalls, but we could consider that. I don't know. Reconsider that, I should say.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lynn. Kenny.
Just touching back on what I said in the study session is I support it was option number 3 that we close it temporarily, the 3 month or 4 month season, and then open it back up.
Okay. All right.
And I'm
Mackenzie?
sorry, I couldn't be there at that study session, but I also agree with all of you. While I think about my students and other kids on that trail and the safety there, I think Amanda nails it, that it really is just June to September that they're really using it. And I think Milt nailed it in the public when he said it is our job to consider all workable solutions, and these are definitely workable. My only question to Dom or Courtney, how long would it take to get the proper signage up or blocks if we were to go this route? How long are we looking at it still being closed? Because these people want it open. So while we have these months though, how long would it take?
It wouldn't take long for us to right now it's not open. So if you wanted to close it seasonally this year, we could certainly do that and then just add some additional signage. Longer term, there would be the temporary bollards that would be installed. Those are already part of the design contract for the Foothills Trail parking lot. And so that would be part of that contract, which we kind of have a hold on right now and still need to go out to bid. And then I would assume would be constructed next year if that was the will of the council. So hopefully by maybe not next year because they would be installing the parking lot. So it would probably be closed, but by 2025, we would have those bollards for that seasonal closure. The way that the seasonal closure would happen would be through a special event permit application that could be approved administratively under the understanding that it was supported by council.
Okay. Are there, well, this is, oh, Dom.
So I wanted to speak to a couple things. You know, your questions are great about timing. When can these things happen? So I've heard a lot of support, both the public comments and the council, for changing the intersection to a right in, right out. That is something that I believe we can initiate with WashDOT immediately. You know, the city does not have control over, you know, WashDOT does the actual striping, or if they're going to put a C curb at the center line to prevent the left turns. I believe signage also, it's technically in their right of way. I think they govern on the signage too, but that is a kind of a parallel track that can get initiated if that's the desire of the council. We can initiate that immediately. I wanted to speak to the other crossings, the other trail crossings. I want to remind the council that at Main Street, the city received a Transportation Improvement Board grant. We're currently under design on that project. It is scheduled for construction next year. That is specifically it's a new program with TIB called the Transportation Alternatives Program. It's what that's for. So that is being addressed it's already in the works. The Park Street Trail crossing behind Wally's, the 6-year transportation improvement plan that the council adopted this evening includes 2 projects that are at 410 and Park. One is the right-hand turn lane, one is the roundabout. We have been in discussions internally at a staff level that it may make sense just to do that all as one project. As long as you're going to spend that much money there, do everything at Park. As part of that, the east leg, when you put a roundabout at Park and 410, there's the residual effect with Splitter Islands and off there that would, and I don't want to overpromise, but look at that trail crossing as well. It's not so far away where with signage, extra signage and crossing there, you're not going to have, you're no longer going to have people racing to make a light heading towards 410. You're going to have people coming out of a roundabout, and yes, someone could come out and really goose it and try to get through there. But again, what are you trying to get through? So there's, again, to address that, I don't put it this way. I don't think putting a roundabout at that intersection is going to diminish the current safety. It's not going to make it worse. Like I said, I don't want to overpromise that it's going to be the safest, but again, it's being addressed. And then the third location down at the 165 Ryan 112 intersection, the very large 4-way stop. Again, on the 6-year TIP is putting a roundabout, or it may be called a traffic circle. There's a semantics thing there, but again, safety there too. So that crossing of the trail is being addressed. So the council is and the staff are looking at every crossing of that trail, every spot through the town, trying to make them safer. So it's not that there was a focus on Jefferson, only make that safe and forget all the other ones, you know, you don't care. That's simply not the case. I mean, this is being pursued. It's something that I think you all have been, you know, forward thinking on and aware of. And so I just wanted to add some context to that on those two issues for.
Thanks, Don. Oh, I've got something.
I
Go
have,
ahead.
I have a question.
Oh, Lynn.
Do you have any comments to make about the, I guess it's an exit and entrance into the Wally's parking lot off of A Street? When you're at the light facing Park Avenue, people are coming out of Wally's on that little opening there into traffic, and people are coming from Enumclaw around the corner as fast as they can make it to that little island that was recently installed. And I cross continuously back and forth to Edith Street on Park. So I'm interested in how that's done with a commercial property, you know, allowing or disallowing them exit and entrance to that little area there, but it's a killer. It's going to get somebody someday in an amazing wreck. I can't see why it hasn't happened before.
So you're talking about the exit from Wally's onto Park?
Yes,
Okay, so
I guess it's still Park until it becomes A, right? Yeah.
correct, but and I would also say, I would say that yes, certainly coming out of there, taking a left is a bit of an issue. But I would say, you know, that if you've been in some of the through some of the roundabouts in other cities, that usually there are these splitter islands that would prevent, I would think after the roundabout went in, there would be a splitter island that are kind of these triangle shapes where you would not be able to take a left onto Park. You would only be able to take a right if that exit was still there. So it is, and I've seen a bunch of these where they're in school zones and things where they will do a barrier, you know, when you're connecting to roundabouts, they'll do a barrier. So, you know, some of them you just have to only get out right and you go down and go around one and come back to where you want to be. So there's some inconvenience there, but I agree. And I think all those turning movements for the businesses will certainly be, well, there's not too many businesses at that intersection, but certainly with Wally's, because also the entrance on and off of 410, you know, the further away it is, you know, in general, you want driveways far from intersections if you can, so you don't have those conflicts or potential accidents. But I think it's certainly a consideration where I think it would be probably detrimental to the business to try to do something too important there now. Although putting a right turn arrow out of that, you know, may just be the right thing to do, just because you almost can't even get turned in there and get in front of the light unless nobody's there.
You have to consider all that's happening at the intersection of the light before you even make a right away from Wally's. It's really quite a setup.
Yeah.
And Amanda, you had.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you said that, if we went with the right turn in out at Jefferson, would it be an option to ask WashDOT to make it where people can't turn, where they put a barrier there so that because obviously, right, there's going to be people that do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But I was just wondering if that is an option to ask them.
It would be, I think that, you know, to some extent, and I don't know the exact width, but you know, you get a wide enough yellow line, it's supposed to be pretty illegal to cut across it. I'm just thinking in other places on 410, I can't think of any instances where there is that a raised curb or a raised piece there. It doesn't hurt to ask. They may say, well, it may have something to do with you know, with signage and striping and not raised. I think I've heard in the past that, you know, it can be flashing and everything. So police and fire. So I don't know the exact answer, but it would certainly be part of the equation and part of the questioning as to, even if it's not all the way across, but it is, so that an emergency vehicle can get out, but it's on the side where you're gonna want to go, because most people aren't gonna want to go all the way around it and S through. Again, there's illegal traffic movements all over, but that would be on the table as far as, would be my recommendation.
Okay.
I know we had in past administrations, both with WashDOT and with the city, we had asked to put up the glue down candlesticks, whatever they're called, the long tubular, and WashDOT refused to do it for whatever the reason was. I think it was an unofficial ask, but we've been kind of at this juncture for a long time. And my understanding too, Dominic, is we can put a sign up for us for right turn only onto 410 from Jefferson on both sides. I don't think the other side of the highway is an issue, but on the east side, right turn only. But WashDOT, of course, we're gonna have to get them in the loop to try and get a no left turn on to Jefferson. And my other question is bollards. There's probably all manner of bollards or road. And I don't want to get into a huge discussion tonight, but this will be for transportation and utilities, but something that's easily removable, maybe something that isn't so permanent that we could open it during the event of the day and not close it for 3 months at a shot. I think we're going to have the same public feedback. I think if we solid shut it, I don't disagree. We're just saying maybe there's another option in there.
The temporary bollards could be installed and removed at any time.
Right,
if
something
designed
that it doesn't
correctly.
go in the ground, something that you could slide out of.
They go in the ground, but they're locked, and
Right.
then you would unlock them and remove them. It might be a little bit more work, but not too much more work compared to just the signage that we have out there today.
Yeah,
And it would certainly look a lot nicer.
Yeah.
The ones I've installed, they're square and then they have almost like a brass looking flatbed. So you pull it up, the bollard sets in there and then you take them out and then you just drive over them.
Yeah, they used to be made of treated wood. Now they're plastic and all kinds of stuff. I was thinking of something that any manner of park staff or at the youth center where they could go out and install this in the middle of the day and not, anyway, we can talk transportation utilities. You guys can mold
We may
that
also
over.
want to consider putting some bollards across the trail if we're not vacating the street. Because as Jenny had mentioned, I guess that there are people who take Jefferson and then turn onto the trail as if it was traffic.
Yeah.
And use it as a lane.
And some
we could put
flags
some
as well.
bollards. We have them at the other intersections, but not at Jefferson. So we
Yeah.
need to add those.
And if we put signposts in, we can put the
Mhm.
flag holders and put flags in there for
Yeah.
the crossing as well, so.
Yeah, and I think the
There's
consideration on the 410 side of the trail makes sense. I've seen various combinations. I've seen ones where it's 3, but only the center one is removable because you can get the width of vehicle you need through there. Which is a way to do it. But I think the other thing that needs to be part of the discussion is over at River. So you have the crosswalk there.
Yep.
From there's not going to be, I haven't heard any potential of a need to get in there. There's not a parking lot proposed there. So it seems like those or that barricade or bollards or, there's ones you can drive over. There's all kinds of fancy kinds. We haven't really looked into that too much, but it seems to me that maybe just behind or just west of the crosswalk, across Jefferson at River, it may make sense to close it there, which is where it's closed now in terms of the type 3 barricades that are there.
Right.
And it may be that you guys elect not to have it on both sides, but I think we can bring forward some options, including the cost. But there's certainly open for discussion.
Yeah.
One more thing, this is probably for you. I was wondering how much we're looking at I was wondering what we're looking at financially for a cost to move the bollards and open it for traffic and then close it again for staff and whatever it requires. Are we looking at a huge amount?
So with the number of seasonals that we have today, we're able to stagger shifts. So a lot of that we can't absorb during regular staff time. It's just an extra thing to add to their work plan, to expect it on a weekly basis. In the past, we didn't have as many seasonals. And so we were paying some overtime. We tried to go back and track, and it wasn't easy to distinguish to give you a good number. Our team estimates that it's probably 2 to 3 hours per event to currently install the blocks that are there now. But for us to do the ballers, I couldn't estimate it today because we don't know what type of technology we'll be installing there, but it would be absorbed by our seasonals.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was driving at, Lynn. Something we can take up and put down in the middle of the day and not for a 3-month block. For like on the weekends, if we have something going on, we're gonna put it up, however that's gonna look. You guys, yeah. Anyway.
How long are the seasonal positions for?
They start, it's typically summer. And
Summer.
so we have some that start a little bit earlier, but most of them are when school breaks because a lot of them are high school students. But we do have some that have already started in May, and then they go through September, early October. So same time.
Same time.
Yep. And our park staff is now also on a staggered shift. So we have a lot more coverage, Monday through Saturday.
Thanks, Dawn. I appreciate it. Okay, public comments. Do we have any other public comments at the end? No, Connie.
I figured the parking lot would be brought up. That's the reason I was waiting till now. Mr. Smith brought up this 155,000 approximate that's been already used for the parking lot. Well, that has just been for redesign. That's got nothing to do with building the parking lot. Now, if you have the big 20-some parking spaces that it was originally, that's going to be well over $400,000. If you have the small one, I think Ms. Brunel said 79, 80,000 if it was gravel. That's correct. Well, you can't have gravel because then you can't have your ADU, because there's no way somebody that's in a wheelchair or on crutches can get through the gravel. So now it's going to have to be concrete or blacktop, which is now going to run the price up more. So you're probably looking at $100,000. So now what do you want to spend? That 150,000 is gone. That has been a waste in the last, since what, 2017, 2018? It's gone. Now, do you want to spend another 400,000 or another 100,000 for a parking lot? Number one, it's not going to be safe. Number two, may not get used, because the only way you're going to get on there is taking a right from Bonnie Lake or coming all the way through Main Street. I've said this before, on the river, all the way around Ryan, back on 410 to go in there. Everybody's just going to park on the river. Now, what Courtney had said before with the bathroom, so you don't have to, hopefully would not have to pay the $75,000 back, is to move it. One way or the other, there's going to be money spent to move it down to the west, to the east side, down there by river, by the parking, closer to the playground for all the little kids, closer to the youth center during the summer, which I have no idea why that wasn't thought of at the beginning and then have to move anything. You've already got I think they already ran all the water, power, and sewer up on that side of the road, correct?
I'm not sure.
Because I know they've done a lot of digging, so I assumed it was that. But if not, they're still right there, what you want. So you need to look at some numbers of actually, if it hasn't been run, what it's going to cost to run it, the power, the water, the sewer for the bathrooms, and what it would cost just to hook it up down there by river. I think there'd be quite a bit of savings if it hasn't already been run. So you need some more money, being what's this going to cost? What's that going to cost? Put it against what we've already spent, which could end up just being a white elephant that nobody's going to use. Or if it is used, it could be a safety deal for the basketball court and everything else. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks,
Good
Connie.
evening.
Okay. Oh, Kenny.
The utilities have already been ran to the bathroom, correct?
Yes,
Besides
the
power?
utilities have been ran to the bathroom that's been installed. I'm not sure if there's been the utilities ran to the alternative location next to the youth center. I think that they're close enough that we could tap into them, but right now we just have porta potties there.
Okay. Couple quick things. I just wanted to thank Jessica because I know it's tough filling in sometimes and there's little hiccups, but we get through it really well and I appreciate you filling in for Treva. Also, if you haven't heard or don't know or want to bring your little ones out or grandkids to the Junior Log Show starts at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. Start them at age 3 to age 17 and so on and so forth. And I think with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council.
Nine or 10. No, we'll be in the town.
Celebrating.
No, we go to Curly.
And restroom, that includes both. Okay.